did it. I deleted the dating apps. Ugh, I marveled at the amount of free headspace I'd reclaimed now that I wasn't constantly wondering what strangers did or didn't like about me. Ugh, it was refreshing and soothing. But then it was alarming. If I was no longer focusing all that energy on the men who would never become my husband, suddenly I had a lot more energy to focus on the biological clock ticking away in my uterus. Aggressively. Like less of a clock, more of a bomb.
Hi, I'm Kelly Shanley, and this is For Love or Peanut Butter, a true life dating podcast in which a seemingly eligible yet perpetually single woman, that's me, finally delves into the why and the how she has remained single into her mid-30s. And she changes her life forever.
Let me introduce you to the version of me that I think you'd like to meet. AKA the subtle yet super unhelpful habit I picked up from dating apps. So why hadn't I found a man who loved me for me yet? Well, as it turns out, I was inadvertently hiding the real me from every man I went out with. Apparently, I didn't think millennial men in Los Angeles would be keen on a woman under 50 who watches Jeopardy 5 nights a week.
This term for a long-handled gardening tool can also mean an immoral pleasure seeker. Ken,
what's a hoe?
No.
I've always been a pretty confident person. So when people would constantly ask me, how are you still single? I didn't have an automatic mean to myself answer like my hideous face, my irritating personality, my pronounced halitosis.
It's a formidable scent. It stings the nostrils.
It's hard to fix something when you don't know what caused it. So I had to go back, way back. The first place you look is your childhood. What did your parents do that screwed you up for life? Well, f me, because I had a great childhood. I grew up in North Lake Tahoe, California, which meant that I spent my winters skiing and my summers boating, biking, and backpacking. Jackpot, right? My parents were happily married, and my big sister only enlisted torturous big sister tactics like pinning me down and tickling me until I peed about 20% of the time. It was truly idyllic.
Good for you.
And yeah, you're allowed to hate me for that. I didn't really date in high school. Aside from one-off dates to homecoming and prom, I flew solo. I also had this terrible habit of crushing on boys up until the moment it was apparent that the feeling was mutual, and then I would inexplicably lose interest. So my college sweetheart was my first love, my first everything, and I was certain we would get married and have kids. We did not. So I found myself single and heartbroken at 25, having only ever slept with one man and teetering on the verge of hopeless romantic and full-on cynic. The perfect state for diving headfirst into the battle royale of online dating in Los Angeles.
Here she is, stepping into the ring.
After months of grieving my breakup from the man who I now know was not right for me, but who at the time I was devastated to lose, my roommate forced me to sign up for OkCupid. I say forced with affection because she was right. 8 months of moping around was long enough. It was time to get back out there and debase myself. Filling out my OkCupid profile was the first time I attempted to describe myself in a nutshell in hopes that someone might love me.
Any takers? No?
Sorry, can we take a moment to acknowledge just how much of a mindfuck that is? Dating profiles are like resumes for love. I didn't even know what to put on a resume to get someone to call me for a job, let alone a resume to get someone to call me their partner for life.
This girl right here is not qualified to be anything.
That is an insane amount of pressure to put on a little dating profile. But we all just fill them out willy-nilly and act like it's a totally normal thing to be read about like an object in a museum and either passed on or made a pass at.
Another lovely specimen of womanhood.
Like any other 25-year-old girl who barely knows herself as an adult, I projected what I thought the boys would want to see. A carefree, slightly thinner version of me who loved traveling, but had no baggage, obviously, and would try anything once. I didn't want to say anything too divisive or too feminist, or to come across as too athletic, too smart, or too much of a tree hugger. In so many ways, I just didn't want to be too much. I was already forming the habit that would become a huge hindrance for me in my ill-fated online dating career. Trying to guess what the men wanted and fitting myself into that mold, rather than figuring out what I wanted and finding someone who aligned with that. It was a bit like bra shopping without knowing my size. 32A? Sure, I could squeeze into that. 36 double D? A girl can dream, right? It's no wonder I felt either too restricted or completely unsupported all the time.
Get this off me! Get this off me!
Now, I'm aware that I'm a stand-up comic who shares her dating history on a podcast, so the idea of me hiding anything might sound surprising. But that's exactly what I was doing. Somehow, I'd become a woman with no needs, I didn't want to be too demanding, who only revealed desirable, aka rehearsed, parts of myself, and magically agreed with all of my dates' opinions. Why, yes, I have seen all 10 Fast and the Furious movies, and I agree that they are cinematic masterpieces. Oh, please talk at me about them for hours.
I don't have friends. I got family.
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 Family?
Family. Family.
Who even was that person? Not me. The real me, while perhaps not for everyone, has much more captivating parts, such as the comedian who laughs so loudly it gets everyone else around her laughing too, just because the sheer volume of it is so ridiculous. The athlete who cheers, woo, and shred the gnar, to literally no one but herself as she skis down the black diamonds at Palisades Tahoe. The stoner who likes to get high with her best friends, go on stony walks and take endless sunset pics. Nice. The competitor who plays on a women's kickball team called the Betties and travels around the country to play tournaments for a game most people forgot even existed after elementary school. The foodie who straight up gained 10 pounds in 1 week in Italy thanks to daily helpings of pappardelle with mushroom sauce washed down with chocolate and peanut butter gelato.
Worth it. Totally worth it.
The little sister who cries when she hears Bridge Over Troubled Water because her big sister played that album to her dad on his final day of dying from brain cancer. The daughter who is terrified her mom will get cancer for a third time and then she'll miss them both. The perfectionist grammar nerd who has to hold her tongue when people say things like irregardless. Ugh. The world traveler who went on a road trip through Croatia and Bosnia with a very hot stranger from Switzerland and lived to tell the tale. The bachelorette who is secretly thrilled to have made it this far without getting married and is proud of the chances she's taken. And the woman who feels like she is ready to finally give all that up and actually get married, have a family, and see her heart grow at least 3 sizes. Congratulations, listeners! You now know more about me than any man I went on a date with between 2010 and 2020. But I didn't see that. I thought these men just didn't like me. But as it turns out, they didn't know me. They couldn't, or wouldn't, conquer the Tough Mudder-style obstacle course that led to my heart. And I would scoff when things inevitably fizzled out because one of us had lost interest or there was just no connection. Of course there was no connection. I gave them nothing to connect to. Disclaimer, I am in no way excusing all of these past dates for their behavior or in any way trying to imply that they were all open, honest, and communicative. Least of all the catfish who was 15 years older, 6 inches shorter, and 40 pounds heavier than he said he was and thought he could distract me from that by telling me how rich his dad was. I am merely acknowledging that I, too, played a part in creating these dead-end situations and can no longer, in good conscience, solely blame the men.
Damn legalese.
I had my walls up after having my heart broken, and I forgive myself for that. We've all been there. But it took me 10 years to let those walls down because I didn't even know they were up. They were like those invisible dog fences that shock the dog if they get too close to the border. Sorry, in this analogy, men are, in fact, dogs. Only instead of shocking the men with electricity when they approached my invisible fence, I would just jab them with sarcasm, run back to my cat, and tell myself that I was not, and never would be, enough. It was a tough pill to swallow, acknowledging that I had created the situation that I so desperately wanted to escape, but it was also empowering. If I got myself into this mess by hiding the real me, that meant I could get myself out of this mess by being more vulnerable. It was scary to think about being rejected for the real me rather than the polished version of me that I had been presenting. But I realized if I was going to get rejected either way, I might as well have some fun and be myself. Now, I just had to get in touch with that self and let my freak flag fly.
I'm Kelly Shanley, and this is For Love or Peanut Butter. For Love or Peanut Butter is created, written, and performed by me, Kelly Shanley. Produced and edited by Z. Rodriguez Thomas for Mind Jam Media. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and leave us a glowing review. If you can't wait to hear the next one, check out the column of the same name on Medium. Link in show notes. And be sure to follow me on social media. On Instagram and TikTok, you can find me at Kelly A. Shanley. On YouTube, Facebook, and Medium, at Kelly Shanley. Thanks so much for listening, and stay crunchy out there. Or smooth.
All right, Kel.
Benign. It sounds like a benign tumor of the penis. Don't worry, it's benign.
Boo!
You laughed, though. You laughed. So many outtakes. Okay.